Good morning. I'm Judge Person. I'm going to make some announcements and also just give a little bit of information about how things move through a Class C court, which this is, and then we'll get going. Again, I'm Judge Person, and if I'm repeating myself, it's partly due to the fact that people's audio is connecting. Just a couple of things I want to check in with you all about. Actually, there are a few folks that I'm not able to identify, and I just want to see who's here. Master Gamer, can you unmute briefly and just tell me your name, please?
Yes, I am LaRon Alexander.
Thank you. I'm changing it, but it's temporary. It'll go back to what you prefer once you log out of the meeting. Okay. There's another person just named Natasha, and I'm not positive who that is. If you could unmute, please, and tell me.
It's actually Alicia Johnson.
Okay. I'll be with you both shortly. There's Motorola Moto Stylist. Can you unmute and tell me who you are?
Hi, sorry. I'm Chelsea Vasquez.
Thank you. There is get a phone call person in. Hi, on the telephone. Oops, it's not. So just waiting for that connection to happen. Hi, on the telephone. You just came into the meeting a little bit, tiny bit late. That's all fine. But could you tell me your name? Oh, there you go. Unmute, please. That will help me greatly to hear you.
Samuel Brown.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Brown. And I will be with you shortly. We just got started and I'm still identifying folks. Just let me call a real quick roll. And if I don't call your name, don't worry, I already see you. I'm looking for people that I don't see right now. Jacqueline Jones, do you happen to be here with someone else, perhaps? Julie Burright, do you happen to be here? Enrique Garza Jr., are you here? Braden Peckall, are you here? Letitia Peoples, are you here? Mr. Matson, no one on your docket is here. I'm going to say to you that I'll circle back around before I excuse you. Every now and then people do come in a little late, and it's always better to deal with people if we can up front. And I'm going to do announcements, and then I'll address the fact that no one's shown up for your docket, which does subject them to a type of warrant. But for now, just hang loose. And I know you've heard what I'm about to say, but
thank you, Judge. I'll
be
be available.
Yeah, that's where we are. Okay, so just a couple of quick kind of pieces of information, and I don't anticipate a long morning, but I do want to give due regard for each person's case, okay? So I will definitely do that. I do want to let you know a few things, and I'm going to organize my files while I talk to y'all. So when you're given a ticket or issued a citation, those are all methods that we have under the law for accusing someone. That's what a ticket is. It's an accusation. And when you give a plea, you're giving an answer or a response to that accusation. And there are three options for pleading. The three options for pleading are guilty, not guilty, and no contest. If you plead guilty, you are admitting the offense. You're saying, I did this. If you're pleading not guilty, you are contesting the charge. Ultimately, that leads to trial, okay? And I'll talk more about that here shortly. And then if you plead, sorry, I'm almost done organizing here. Yeah, that's the one. Okay, so if you plead no contest, that's the third one. I said there are three. If you plead no contest, the third one, that just means you're saying I'm not going to admit I did it. I'm not going to say I didn't do it. I just want to move forward with sentencing. I'm not contesting it. So if you plead guilty or no contest, I'm moving forward with sentencing. If you're already in a sentence, but like you're in a sentence, but something's not working out right, I'm here to talk to you about that too. So people can be in different layers to this. They can be in different parts of the process. And I'm just going to take you where you are. Okay. So if you plead guilty or no contest, I'm moving forward. We're sorting out what can be done. If you plead not guilty, I'm scheduling in-court trial processes. So we're moving from today, we're moving always into live court. Okay. If the case is resolved, then we're not having to be here for that. But, we can't have trial and do contested charges under Texas law without you being present. Well, we can, but you've got to come in. A lawyer can show up for you, but most people are not doing that. So guilty or no contest, moving the case toward sentencing, not guilty, moving the case toward trial. Once an item is filed in the court, I, as judge, am not able to throw cases out. That's a common misunderstanding. For a lot of reasons that happens, but I'm not able to throw cases out. If you disagree, then you're moving that case toward trial. At trial, the question is, at the time of the stop, were you guilty of the offense? At the time accused, are you guilty of the offense? Okay. So it's good to get kind of a focused about what's really being looked at. Okay. Now, if you plead guilty or no contest, normally I'm moving to sentencing. And sentencing means payment of fines and costs and having it go on your record. That's a general statement. Let me tell you, there are exceptions. So first of all, with regard to payment, I look at financial information if you provide it. I am allowed to ask. Frankly, if I don't have any information, I can't make a very good decision. And I'll just do what I do at that point. And I do need it in writing because that's what my file needs to reflect, what I based my decisions on. And I'm very strict about that. So I ask for it in writing, frankly, for your protection. But anyway, getting that in writing, looking at what the concerns or issues might be, I am able to then make adjustments. Okay. So payment is something that we work on. Okay. Once I make an order, it's the order. Okay. Now, nevertheless, the first thing I said was the item goes on your record. I want to let you know that under Texas law, there are 4 exceptions to that. Okay. Compliance dismissals, driver safety course options, deferred dispositions, and teen court are all ways to gain a dismissal. You can look on the website and read all about it if you wish, but let me give you the highlights right now. Compliance dismissals are things that can be brought up to date and dismissed. The law has to specify that can happen. It's not everything that we could bring up to date to get dismissed. One example would be your headlights are out, they're broken, you got a bulb out. You get pulled over, you didn't know, you get cited for defective equipment. You bring in on time to court proof that it's been brought up to date, fixed. In other words, we know you're not going to get stopped for that anymore. You pay a $10 fee and the case is dismissed. If you miss your court date, you waive that. It's done. Okay. Because your court date is on your ticket. And your court date on your ticket means you contact the court. You can contact the court through mail. Email now is permitted, and faxes. You can't just call, because anyone could call them and plead guilty on your case, and that's not appropriate. So we don't do that. It's not authorized that we do that, and it makes sense. So compliance dismissals are the first thing, and I'll look and see if you have them, and you're welcome to ask about it. Okay, but I do automatically check when I'm with you in court. 2, driving safety. can be utilized if you have a Texas license and you are on time to court and haven't been to a course in the previous 12 months for purposes of getting a ticket dismissed. You do have to pay the court costs. The fine goes on hold. If you pay the court costs on time, you got to be on time to court. Then you pay the court costs on time. You've got to present license and insurance. And then you've got a window to turn in a course and a driving record, the proper course, the proper record. You get your case dismissed and your fine gets waived, and it is less expensive and it keeps it off your record. Remember, the key there is being on time, having the proper license, and we have to sort out the court costs. The court costs and fines, when you call the clerk, they give you a number. That number represents the costs and the fines together. The costs are set by the legislature and the fines are set by the judge. And the costs are what you pay in the driving safety course option. The fines go on hold and get waived if you complete the process. So that is that program. The third option for dismissal is if you ask for and receive a deferred disposition. A deferred disposition means a delay in finding you guilty, accepting your plea, putting it on hold, and putting an order in place that will be like a schedule of things for you to do in order to gain a dismissal. We sort out fines and costs. I might have you do a class. I might have you turn in a record. I might need a document of some sort. Okay. You keep your address current. You keep your license up to date usually, and insurance usually, depending on the charge. I wouldn't do that, for example, in a juvenile alcohol case, but if driving's not involved, So it depends on the type of charge, but I can impose different, conditions. If you agree, and I also require that you keep your address current and not get more charges and warrants and failures to appear. If you agree and you've made the request and I grant it and I give you the conditions and you agree, then we move forward with that process. And at the end of the time frame, which is usually up to 6 months, I check, I make sure that you did everything on time that you were agreed to do. And if you have, then I sign a dismissal. Okay. So a deferred is a request though, and you must request it at the time that you enter a plea. In Class C courts, you can make the request of the judge directly, or you and the prosecutor can directly make a request of the judge. And then the judge, and the way that looks is, guilty or no contest, I'd like a deferred. If you and the prosecutor agree, then the way that looks is y'all say, judge, we're proposing, or judge, we're requesting. And I say yes or no. I don't have to give a reason for my yeses or nos. Okay. I'm pretty friendly to it. I will consider it every time I'm asked, but I'm not going to pre-tell you what I do and don't grant it on, because I take that on a case-by-case basis, depending on really your history with the court, the offense itself, plus anything else that you might have to tell me. So deferreds you have to request at the time that your plea is accepted by the court. The fourth option is called teen court. And with teen court, it's very similar to a deferred. The shift there, or the difference, is that the young person is taking responsibility as opposed to with an adult, they do, or a parent. It doesn't really make sense for a parent to be the primary responsible party. They're a support role. They're like supporting cast, because sometimes if you're a young person, you need them to help you pay for a class or acquire a record, or get something accomplished, get somewhere that you need to be. So their input is very helpful. But ultimately, if you have an offense and you're teen court eligible, meaning you're in high school, middle school, or homeschool, heading very effectively towards the high school diploma or equivalent, then your full-time job is to get that degree. So what we want to do is wrap that up into a solution. And what we want to do with that solution is to really think about, what got you here and what's the best way to not have you here again. With traffic safety, what we're thinking about there is the safety issue. 25 and under folks are our highest bracket for death and dismemberment on the roadways. And unfortunately, Texas is the #1 place. So I take very seriously when our young people have cases. I am often willing to deal with them through teen court because it is the most effective way I have to make sure that I'm not reading about your young person in the paper with something tragic happening. And that has happened to me too many times. So I do take it very seriously. Okay, so that's number 4. And if you're in school, I'm pushing teen court just a bit. I get to push on that one. If you are asking for a deferred, you request. And the other 2, I look and you're welcome to ask. You're also welcome to ask questions. I cannot give you legal advice. It is not appropriate for a judge to do that. Brian Matson is the city's attorney. He does not work for me. He works for the city attorney's office. That makes him the equivalent of a district attorney at this level of court, the type of court that we're in. But he is not a legal advisor for you either. He legally advises the state. Keep in mind, if you have a case here, the state has filed that case. He represents the state, not us, not you. However, he's here for them, and that means that they have a seat at the table. So if you're requesting something that involves their input, I will have to let you know. I'll let you know. If you ask me questions that I can't answer because it's legal advice, I'll let you know. So don't be nervous about that. You can ask, but just understand some questions I'm allowed to answer, and some questions it's impermissible. And I'll just tell you because I know the difference. I can't give legal advice. If you want a legal advisor, you have to go and do that. And I reschedule your case. And the way that you do that, that's a right that you have. And you invoke that right by just saying, Judge, I need time. And I will reschedule your cases for another day in most instances. Kind of depends. Once your plea has been accepted, though, you have waived that option. Okay, so that's the 101. I know it sounds like a lot. However, if I have to say it for every single person, you would grow tired of my voice a lot faster than you might have now. So I do it all at once. And then that way I can pinpoint questions that people may have. Okay. Mr. Matson, hang on just a second. I'm being handed something. Hold on. Oh, that's completely not okay. Okay, Mr. Matson, I am not seeing anyone on your docket having appeared. Those will all move to that final date that we're permitted to do. In those cases, they're all in August 23rd. On August 23rd at 3 for Garza, September 6th at 1 for Peckall, September 6th at 1 for Peoples. But mid-September, everything goes live. But those are lives. Those are, I believe those are Zoom settings because I think the 6th is a Tuesday. I'd have to look. It's a Wednesday. Yeah. So yeah, I'm sorry. Those are live dates. So we'll see you before then, but we'll see you on those at that point. At this point, though, without further requests to the court, you are free to go. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Judge.
And then I am moving forward as well. Icy Walker, could we have you unmute and tell me how you are today? And I do thank you for being here.
Sure. So how are you today? I'm good.
Okay. Mom, tell me your name, please.
Patricia Jones.
Okay. We have 2 charges. One is a no driver's license. The other is failure to yield from a private drive. The no license charge has fines and costs of $181. This is for July 7th. I did receive a plea of guilty and a request for teen court. Before I accept your plea, can I ask you, do you feel like you understand guilty, not guilty, and no contest, what those mean, and furthermore, where those pleas will take you?
Yes, ma'am, I understand.
Okay. On the license charge, I did receive a plea of guilty and a request for teen court, which I'm trying to grant. We'll talk about it. But is that your plea at this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then on the failure to yield the right of way from a private drive, the fines and costs are $260. I did receive a plea of guilty and a request for teen court. Is that your plea at this time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I do have you qualified for teen court. And there were a series of papers that you filled out for being, a younger person. Did you have any questions about those forms? The rights to not make statements that, implicate you, right? Your duty to keep your address correct. Did you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Now, with teen court, there are two fees of $20. So there's a $40 cash fee that's going to need to be paid. Can you pay that fee today?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Before I move into what I'm going to ask you to do, I want to ask a couple of questions of you and of Mom. Are you getting some sort of license at this point? Got a birthday?
No, I had applied to get her the online driving thing and she didn't finish it. I have the papers and I had them that day that I went where we went to fill out the papers, but the lady said she didn't think they would matter because it was expired. Because it did expire on, let's see, what day was this? June 19th. I got an email saying that it expired. She didn't finish what she needed to, but either way, she wasn't at the driving period yet where she could drive. It was just the online stuff she was supposed to be doing. But I did want to just throw that out there that we were semi working on it. We were supposed to be working on it, but she didn't finish what she needed to before it expired.
Okay. I also read your notes too. I read your notes about what happened that day. You do need to know, and I guess you do know by now, that Texas law doesn't provide for a medical reason to drive without a license. There was an accident, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And the other person, how is their damage being?
She was driving my mom's car. My mom lives in another city. She was actually Icy was actually with her dad at the time, staying in Rosebud where he lives at and where my mom also lives at in Rosebud. And she was driving. Well, my mom drove to the doctor, but she had to have an injection on her knee. And Icy has been, to be honest, practicing like small town Rosebud with her dad. Driving on back roads, or even here in Taylor with me practicing driving. I don't want to lie about that. And I guess my mom felt comfortable enough to ask her to drive back for her in the case that she couldn't drive. And that's what happened. And quite honestly, I didn't know about it. I probably wouldn't have disapproved, but maybe I could have got there. I do live an hour away from Rosebud, and then it's a whole nother journey to Temple. But either way, I didn't know she was going to be driving that day. I was surprised with the phone call from my mom from Icy's phone about it. But yeah, that's it.
So just back to my original question, and I think that I got an answer, but let me double check. What I understood is that your insurance did cover the other party.
My mom's insurance is supposed to be covering it. Yes.
Did y'all get some sort of
Go ahead.
Did y'all get some sort of letter saying that there was coverage being provided?
No, she hasn't gotten anything yet. I asked her before this, not today, but a couple of days ago, and she said she called, but she hasn't gotten a response from her insurance yet. But the police, she said they just exchanged information there for the insurance, and her insurance is supposed to be covered. That's just hearsay. I don't have anything in writing or anything, but I did try like to get my mom to get that, and she said she did try. So we're just waiting.
Okay, all right, so the $20 fee, y'all are in Taylor, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So y'all are not handy, like it's not, today driving over here is not really an option. Is that,
If
is,
if I need to, I definitely will. Yeah.
normally we need to sign Teen Court up here in person because that fee is a cash fee.
Okay.
I don't know if we take a check for that fee, but I think we can. So I could work it through the mail on a check.
I mean, I'm driving to Temple to do that. That's like maybe 35, 40 minutes. I mean, we drove there to fill out these papers. I don't mind driving there to get all this somewhat behind me.
Right, right. Well, it's still gonna need to be, so, I see, let me ask you something. Why didn't you finish your class? You had a class.
Yes, ma'am.
What happened with that? Like, that's online. It's not, what's the deal? You just didn't take it seriously or something got in the way?
I didn't take it seriously because, like, I thought I had time, and then it just expired, so I just stopped doing it.
All right, well, I mean, I appreciate a straight answer. So that's better than not, okay? All right, so here are the options I have available with regard to Teen Court. I can grant Teen Court. I probably want to go ahead and have y'all drive over and pay the $40 fee today. I would assign for you, Ms. Walker, I see, an essay, and it's going to be due in 30 days, which is August 28th. And we'll give you the essay assignment in writing when you get here. It's a little easier than me reading out loud to you right now. But I also will require an 8-hour life skills class because I can't do a driver safety class, because to do a driver safety class, you have to have a license. They're gonna keep asking you, give us your license number. And if you don't have one, you'll get booted out of that on even an online class. So we'll do life skills decision making on that. Then I also want a letter of coverage for the accident. These are all things due August 28th. They can be brought to the court or they can be scanned and emailed over. I don't have an opinion about that. I'll take it any old way as long as I receive it. If you don't bring it in person and get it marked, copied, and handed back to you, call and make sure we received it, and always keep a copy in case we need it again. Okay. So check in. Don't just say, well, someone else was supposed to send that in, because these are ways to gain a dismissal. So I will need to hold you to it. What I will say is there's $20 per case. And on the failure to yield from the private drive, that is the essay and the coverage letter. And if I get those, I can do a dismissal there. And the life skills goes to the no DL charge. And if I get those things on time, then your case gets dismissed. Now, I just want to give a word to, both of y'all. If you loan someone a car who is not licensed, you can be charged because it is a crime. Okay. So I want to discourage you from committing that crime. My mother learned to drive at 14 on country roads. And back then that was just how it was done. Okay. But the problem is it's a big world now with a lot more people in it. And when you drive in it, especially if you're not licensed and trained to drive, you're prone to accident. Okay. I see it a lot. And what I'm going to tell you is the way that this works now statistically is you, I see, have moved into the highest leading bracket for death and dismemberment on our roadways. And I get that. My community is a country community. And I have seen that happen here in town, and I've seen that happen out in county. And it's not discriminatory on, oh, well, that's a county person. They're not going to have an accident. It's not how it works. In fact, it's a higher rate of speed out there because people are taking liberties with rules. So don't think that you're immune. You're not. don't neglect the fact or ignore the fact that you are now in the group that dies at the highest frequency in the United States of America, right here. So I want you to get this done, because what I know is that if you do what I'm ordering you to do, I'm less likely to hear about you dying. These are statements I make, not just to scare you, but honestly, a little fear is helpful, but not a lot. It's better for you to start thinking, okay? And what I want you to start realizing is your thought processes need to be surround the idea that this was a bad idea. Now, grandma and you are okay, and I get that it felt necessary, but you got to weigh that against death and dismemberment on your roadway, you know, and I think you'll find that it wasn't necessary if you think about it that way, okay? And until you're licensed to drive, it is that way. And once you're licensed to drive, you're still in that bracket until 25. And that's because we let people drive before 25, but their brain is not fully connected. Your left and right hemisphere don't fully connect until 25. We know that. We probably didn't know that when we wrote our traffic laws and allowed 16-year-olds to learn to drive. But, you know, most of the time, if they're cautious, they're fine. But you got to be licensed as a start. Okay. All right. We'll see you. Now, when you get here, you're going to just talk to someone at the window so I can be flexible about the time. What time can y'all get here?
Maybe an hour, hour and a half. It shouldn't. We'll drive there pretty much after this.
Let's just say no later than noon. We'll shoot for noon. Okay.
Okay.
I just like to give them a heads up as to kind of when to look for you.
Okay.
Okay, so anyone at the counter can help you. It's the same building that you came to before. You walk in, it's about 5 minutes. Once you get here, you get a copy of everything. You'll have like a sheet that tells you the class, a sheet that tells you the essay, and your order that will tell you also the requirement for a letter of coverage for your insurance. Did that make it on? Okay, thank you. Sorry, I forgot to check. Okay, so we're good to go. I actually just signed all your documents, so they'll be waiting for you, okay?
Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you.
This is the path to keep it off your record. Do you have any further questions?
So as far as her getting a license, at what age can she try again, or how does that work?
I don't know.
Depending on whether this gets
I think if it's dismissed, it's still she might have options, but I'm not going to tell you that because it's
okay.
not my area.
Okay.
It's not my lane. Okay.
I
Check
just
with
don't the law.
I
in
know.
trying-
I know if she's convicted, then we're done. Okay. Until 18.
Okay. Okay.
I know that. But what I don't know is, because it's not invisible, what I don't know is if I sign a dismissal, can they still use it? And I don't know. And I honestly think that the path you take on that usually is to just engage and try to do it and see if you're stopped.
Okay.
Don't run ahead and go, here's a copy of everything that got dismissed, because if they're not looking at it, then why highlight it? I'm not suggesting that you lie. It's just that,
Right.
you know, if it's dismissed, it's dismissed, but that hasn't happened yet. So I really don't know. If I
Okay.
were the parent, I would probably get this over with and then start trying to get her to get a license. And if they grant a permit, then they grant a permit. If they don't, they don't.
Okay.
And they'll tell you why. I know if she gets convicted, it's 18.
And if she gets convicted, that's pending on the stuff that we turn in.
Yeah, we got to get it. You got to get it done on time and turned in.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Good
Okay.
question.
And the stuff that needs to be turned in, will we need to see you again on the 28th, or I just need to make sure that they have everything by the 28th?
Yeah, you could turn it in next week, but no later than the 28th.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all are good to go.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I do have a person coming in. I just want to visit with that person once they're connected. Letitia Peoples, can you hear me yet? I don't have your audio connected yet. So I'll let you work on that. I'm going to go ahead and talk to Melissa Maguola. Help me say that correctly.
Magujoa.
Magujola. Okay. Italian son. Okay, so I've got a couple of questions. I did review the information that you gave me. Thank you. Your fellowship question. You have a stipend. Is that a monthly stipend or a semester stipend?
It's monthly contingent on I guess kind of like the internship fellowship contract. So right now I'm doing like the crisis intervention trauma response on base, but there's no, for Cavazos. So there's no real guarantee of how long it'll be. And it's on and off.
Okay. Well, that puts us in a difficulty. So currently you're doing, with the speeding, I don't mind granting a deferral, first of all. So I did receive a plea. Let's back up. Speeding 55 and a 40. I did receive a no contest plea. And is that your plea at this time?
Well, yeah, I was coming down a hill. I was.
Okay.
And
Okay, and then I did receive a request for a deferral, and I am inclined to grant that. I do have to sort out fines and costs. So my question is, it's not real clear cut on the community service part. What I can do is I can lower the fine to half, and so it would be court costs plus half the fine. Give me a moment to look at what that would mean.
Okay.
Yeah, but let me look at the breakdown. Give me just a moment. So 134 plus 60. So that would drop you to 194. If we did that, I could give you 30 days for half of it and 30 days for the other half of it.
I could do that.
Okay, let's do that reduction. I'm going to have the clerk make that reduction. The two payments are 97 and 97. The deferred I granted already, but part of the condition would be a payment on August 28th and then on September 25th. I would not require a driving safety course to be taken. It's a simple straight deferred that would end on November 27th. And we would put all this in writing. I can send it to you and have you print it and sign it and email it back, or you could come by the court and sign it and we can hand you a signed copy. Which would you?
I preferred email, please.
Yeah, that's fine. Is the email that we used to set the meeting up today, is that a good email for you? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I do need it back before close of business today, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we'll email that to you. And I'm just making some notes for the clerk. Okay, so it will just read that you're on a 4-month deferral that ends on November 27th. Your conditions are to pay your bond, which is a payment of $97 on August 28th and $97 on September 25th. The deferral ends November 27th, and during the deferral period, conditions are that you not Move without telling us. For us to stay current. Don't get any warrants, failures to appear, or warrants for your arrest. Meet or additional cases. If you meet those conditions, then the case is dismissed. Do you agree?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll sign that so that when you sign it, you'll have a full copy. But then I need your copy back by close of business or I cancel it out. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right, thank
Any
you so
questions?
much. No,
Yes.
ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a
You are
good day.
good to go. Thank you. Okay, Miss Peoples, can you unmute?
Yes, ma'am.
How are you today?
I'm doing fine. Just got up a little bit too late.
Okay,
And I have,
so the docket started at 9 o'clock that you were on, and that docket has wrapped up and completed, and I excused the state already from court, so they're gone.
okay,
So you are now moving to a live setting on September 6th at 1 o'clock. Don't be late.
okay,
Okay, because your case goes to warrant if you miss that court date.
okay, okay.
Okay. We'll see you on the 6th of September at 1.
Okay, thank you. Will they send me another link or what do I
No,
have to do?
it's not a link because it's here live at the court and it that setting was already on the information we sent to you when we sent you the link.
Yes,
we
ma'am.
we scheduled you for 2 hearings today at 9 and then that day at 1. So this one's over and that one is mandatory.
Okay, all righty. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good to go. I am also moving forward with LaRon Alexander. If you could unmute and tell me how your day is going, besides the fact that you're in court.
Yes, ma'am. My day is going pretty good. Got up pretty early to hop on the Zoom meeting, of course.
Okay. And I saw that you're at Temple High School. And I did receive a plea of guilty and a request for tea court, which I'm inclined to grant. Is that your plea, guilty at this time?
Yes, ma'am.
So I will agree and grant you teen court. There is normally a $20 fee that we get from you for teen court. Is it possible to pay that fee?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then this had an accident. So you'll have a driving safety course to do online, or you can take one around town. The choice you're going to make of that. I'll give you a list of places and you decide what you're going to do, but I need it completed and turned in by August 28th. And then there'll be a 3-page essay because of the accident part. And that's also due on the 28th. Are you able to write such an essay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So when you come by the court to pay the $20, there'll be a written agreement. It'll have these dates. And then also there'll be a course information sheet and an essay information sheet so that you know what's expected. Okay. When you come by and look at all of that, review it, make sure your questions are answered. Clerks can answer basic questions. If there are additional questions, they can get me involved if I need to be. And then you just leave with your paperwork. You get everything done and turned in. Your due dates are your latest dates. Early is totally fine. Finish a course, don't wait. Bring it. Finish your essay, bring it. If you turn it all in next week, I'm already signing it. I don't wait. Do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Do you feel like you understand what's expected? Gain this dismissal.
Yes, ma'am. So
it's $20 a course and essay in a month, and then or less, and then I sign a dismissal and I waive the 260.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we'll see you. What time will you be here?
I can make it's 11. Is 11 possible?
Sure, 11 or 12.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll just put no later than noon, but you can come in as soon as you are able.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. you have any questions, Mr. Allen?
No, ma'am.
Thank you for your time today. Okay,
Thank you.
you're good to go. Okay, so I'm moving forward with Alicia Johnson. Good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing fine, Jeff. How are you?
I'm well. Okay, so kind of where we are, we have 3 cases. Okay, they've already been convicted, I believe. Let me just double check that statement. We had a deferral, but it didn't complete because the things that were required weren't done. And then we had teen court and the same thing. And then we had 3 extensions for community service, but nothing was turned in. I did schedule you for open court here in the court on the 11th, and that is in the afternoon. And nevertheless, is that an afternoon date? I'm not sure if it was the afternoon. Let me double check. But in any event, you weren't here.
It
No,
was
that-
a Zoom.
It's in the morning, but nevertheless, you weren't here. I did receive a doctor's note. It was a note that permitted you to go back to work in May. And I just don't really, I'm not really sure what you're asking to do at this point. Are you working?
No, ma'am, I'm not.
And you mentioned in one of your notes to me that you were on probation. I normally don't ask, but it might be helpful for us to know what you're on probation for.
No, I was requesting to get put on probation for the 3 cases.
Yeah, courts of Class C misdemeanor courts don't have probation. It's just not an option because it's not a thing that we do. So I'm not able to do that. But at this point, you've already been sentenced and the balances are what's due, and it's 688. What I can do is either grant payments or grant community service. Tell me more about your medical situation.
I had surgery May 18th.
Yes, I
And
got the note.
before I had surgery, my 19th birthday, I was in Austin and I had passed out due to heart problems. And I've been told by my doctors to take things really slowly and not to be out in the heat as much.
Yeah, well, not most community service is not in the heat.
I do have something to say about the community service though. With the fact that I was not able to find any community service where I live because I do not live in Temple I don't live in Temple no more. My parents aren't able to drive me to Temple or Belton to do community service. And I've been trying to find nonprofit organizations for me to do community service at, but I'm not able to find any.
So tell me where you've asked. Who have you called and asked?
I've asked Goodwill, I've asked multiple thrift shops, I've asked animal shelters, and food banks.
And none of them take volunteers in Cove?
No, ma'am.
No churches, nursing homes, cities,
No,
nothing?
ma'am.
I'm sorry, but I get community service from over there sometimes, and people have found it.
I haven't been able to.
So we're going to send you a list.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll give you some more time because the doctor note releases you to go back to work in May, and we're in July. It didn't excuse you from doing any work, and you can do 1 or 2 hours a week. I'm not requiring or scheduling multiple high levels of hours per week. I will make an adjustment and go down from 32 hours to 20.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm going to give a due date of September 25th, which gives you, let's see, 3 to 4 hours a week.
Yes, ma'am.
Any nonprofit that you go to, if it's on our list that we send you today through email, is automatically okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Help you with that. Okay, you are free to go at this time, Ms. Johnson. Just keep in mind your due dates, okay?
Yes, ma'am, I will.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I am moving forward to talk to Mr. Brown. I'm sorry, you were the last person who logged in that I'm talking to. I got you out of order. I apologize. Chelsea Vasquez actually was ahead of you. Miss Vasquez, I did want to ask you though, do you have a parent with you?
Yes, ma'am. She's right here.
Okay. Who is she?
This is my grandmother, Delma Martinez, or Delma Aguilar. Sorry.
What's her name?
Delma Aguilar.
And do you live with her?
Yes, ma'am. She's my legal, what is it, a legal guardian? That's what, yeah.
Okay. Does she speak English?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good.
Good.
How are you?
Good. Thank you for asking. We're here. There's a no license charge, and I did receive. Well, I did grant teen court, and teen court was granted in May, and she was supposed to, let's see, get a license and do a 3-page essay. And
Yes,
that was all due in June, and I didn't receive any of it.
yes, ma'am. Of that essay, as we speak, I have it all written down on paper. I don't have it on the phone. I do it on paper, so that way I know that I like what I'm doing and what I'm saying. And so, yeah, I got a 3-page essay. I will be turning that in today, actually, as we speak. As soon as we get off of here, I'm gonna go turn it in to the court place. And about my driver's license, it was basically like that young lady's, how hers was, how she did it online, but except I had paid it
No,
off.
she didn't. She
Oh,
didn't
she
do it.
did. I showed the people over there where the court people at. I showed them what's that word? My account for the driver license thing, and the only thing that I gotta do is pay $20 for her side, so she could get her form, and because it's basically like parent taught. It's a parent taught driver license on Aceable, and if that doesn't work, we're gonna go to Belton to do my little driver license, see if they'd let me do that. Because now I am currently pregnant, so I gotta start having like more appointments and then all that other extra stuff. So I gotta stay on top of that now. So now I really don't have a choice to do or not to do. And so, yes, ma'am, that's how it's going currently over here.
Okay. Are y'all going to be able to come by the court today? Because
Yes, ma'am. Right as
here's the
soon as
deal. Here's the deal. Everything was due in teen court, and that's not worked. It didn't happen. And the essay and the license, what you're describing is you're signing up to start getting a license. You won't get a permit until you complete that whole thing. And that takes time. And
It did.
time is done on teen court. We're done. We don't have any more time.
Okay.
So I can convert this to a deferral, which will still keep it off your record. But you have to sign for that deferral today. And your community service for your deferral is going to be to turn in that essay and get your license within 60 days.
Yes, ma'am. A question about the license. Do you know if I could like I want to say like if like okay how I could get it faster without like any like what's that? How do I say it, grandma? Like how to like to get it faster type like basically just I don't know how to say it. But
Okay,
like
well, I do know how to say it. Okay. So your question needs to be directed to the DPS and their
Mhm.
website. However, I think what you'll find the answer includes is instead of parent taught, you would take a course and complete it and get your permit because you're going to have a 6-month permit where you have to have an adult in the front seat with you at all times. And you're not going to be able to avoid that. Even being pregnant, you're still going to be required. You'll have a restriction. So what I'm looking for is a permit by September 25th and an essay, which you turn in today, and your deferral will end November 27th. And but that's not your date for your turning in things. Your things need to be turned in today for your essay.
ma'am, excuse me.
Hang on just a moment.
Okay.
Your permit by September 25th, and then no more tickets through this whole time. So it ends on November 27th, I believe. Yes. It begins today. No tickets, no failures to appear, no moving without changing with us your address, your essay today, and your license in 60 days. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what was your question?
My question, it's kind of like a question, but when I had to find out about my essay, they didn't let me know until later on then. So
No,
it's
we
like,
gave you a sheet that had your information.
yeah, they did give you a sheet.
Yes, don't, that's not true. I have a
Oh,
copy of it right here. I'm looking straight at it.
I'm sorry. Thing is that you didn't.
You just ignored it. Let's be honest.
Yes. You did. We didn't know.
Yeah,
We
you did.
didn't know.
Yeah, you did.
When we
Yeah,
were
you did.
on,
Listen, if you want to argue, then I'm sorry, but you're not a good candidate for changing this program over. You can pay at the window. I'm trying to help you, but I'm not really into people who don't take responsibility. Right here, where you said that you're going to agree to do a 3-page essay, your signature is on there, and we handed you that sheet. And right when you signed it,
yeah,
here it is, signed it,
yeah, it is. We got
and
it.
we handed it to you. There's no way you signed it without us handing it to you.
Yes, ma'am. I've heard nothing already. I just probably signed it and just went on by it.
Yeah, you didn't take it seriously. That's the answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, you're not going to get me off of that one.
Oh, it wasn't me. It was her.
It was you who got a ticket.
That's true.
Yeah.
But other than that,
No
the essay
buts. No buts. We can do what I'm suggesting, or you can reject it and pay the fees and let it go on your record.
yes, ma'am. That's what's
Well,
gonna be.
you will find it difficult to get a license, though, if you take the hit. So you better get busy and stop making excuses.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what time will y'all be here?
Before 11, actually.
We'll see you then.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, good morning.
Good morning.
I did review everything that you sent in. And I did receive kind of an additional set of things that I think came in yesterday. Give me one more second to go over that in connection with everything you've already let me know is going on for you. Hold on. Because they handed that to me right when we started court. Okay, so on the non-appearance in court charge, you're pleading not guilty. There are two of those. On the defective headlamps, you're pleading not guilty. On the failure to stop at a designated point, pleading not guilty. And then there is a no insurance charge from November 13th of 2014. And there is a warrant that the fines and costs are $456.30. How are you pleading to that charge?
I thought I filled it out and said not guilty.
Okay, I'm just confirming it for you. I have the right to do that.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
In fact, I have
Oh,
a
I'm
right to
sorry.
do that. So that's what that is. Okay, so kind of the history now is I do have pleas entered. And I do have your financial affidavit, which isn't terribly relevant just right at the moment because I'm not sentencing you right now. And it may not, I don't know what's going to happen. But thank you, because that does help me know sort of the constraints and difficulties, and it's helpful for me to know that. I do have multiple settings where you didn't show up. So that's a challenge for me as a judge to overcome, because it's not for me to overcome, it is for you. When you do contest your charge, I do schedule, right now, I still allow an online appearance for those initially on the pretrial docket, which I can schedule for August 8th. And that's a link. That's a link like we did today.
Okay.
And then a final pretrial, but that's here in the court for September 6th at 2:00. So that's if the case isn't resolved on that online process, which
Yes,
allows, which is allowed if we agree to come and do that. We can do that by agreement in Texas. If the case is resolved at that point, because see, when you plead not guilty, the state has the right to weigh in and decide if they're holding on to the cases or not, and whether they're pursuing those cases or not. Okay. And I don't have authority to just throw them out. I mean, I did read, your experience with other courts, but what I would maintain to you is I have no control over what other courts do, but in my court, we follow Texas law. And the law is once it's filed, I don't throw cases out. And I don't actually dig into cases and look at the details and the facts or lack thereof of cases if people are contesting them, because you have the right to come here and have a trial and have it be fair and impartial. And I will maintain that. And the way that I do that is I don't talk facts with you without the prosecutor present. I do not talk facts with the prosecutor without you present, because you both have the right to keep me fair and neutral. Okay. So I have a strict wall on that. Okay. What I can do is schedule an online pretrial, and we'll see, where their position is at that point. But they have the right to know that's coming at them. So I didn't pull him into that today, but I need you there when I schedule it. He's been ready, knowing you might come in, because I didn't have a plea, but the information seemed like maybe you were going to plead not guilty. So I've had him ready before, but then you weren't online. So I can schedule that. You've got to be there August 8th. If you can do that, and we can see if it's resolvable. If it's not, that's a request for trial, and we're moving to trial, and trial happens live here in court. I don't have a way under the law to have a trial where you don't come to court. So that's an if it's not resolved, we're moving into the live setting. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. I understand, and my hands are tied, at the moment.
Let's let the prosecutor and you have a discussion first. Let's see where we are. And then let's have a discussion at that point, okay?
Yes, ma'am. And if I may,
Yes,
me pleading not guilty is not from the strains of my financial situation. It's
understood.
just, oh, okay.
I assume that. I make an assumption when people plead not guilty, that they plead guilty, not guilty, that is, because they want the case proven against them for any reason they want. It can be
Yes,
they
ma'am.
disagree. It can be they don't think it was right. It can be it wasn't me. It can be a lot of reasons. I don't weigh in and figure out those reasons. I don't make an assumption about income being a reason. I do know sometimes that is happening for people. I appreciate you clarifying for me and I hear you, but you can have trial for any reason. Okay. It's a right. So I respect those rights. I take them very seriously and I follow the law. That way at night, I know what I did and I sleep fine, you know. And other courts do, I don't know what they do because I don't go watch them all, you know. I don't know, I wasn't there. I know what I'm doing here. And I know I do have a very strict restraint under the law once we get to the trial point that the trials are in person because you have the right to confront a witness. And anyone accusing you of something, you have the right to look them in the eye and question them. And
Yes,
so that right stems from, the right to trial stems from the Constitution. But, you know, for me as a judge, those rights are basically inalienable. I mean, we have them, period, end of sentence. Why we have them isn't even important. It's important in a philosophical discussion.
Mhm.
But when you walk in a courtroom, you just have those rights, whether you understand it or not, whether the party on the other side of it understands it or not, it's still the right. And sometimes what I find is that, and I'm not saying you, but people do like they're pushing back against their own interests, you know. And I
Exactly.
try to explain it at that point, but I don't give people the insult of assuming they don't understand it. I assume they understand it. And I assume they're moving forward in the direction that they want to take it. And that's where we are. So
Yeah.
what I have available, at least right now still, is by an agreement, an online process. Let's get the state to weigh in and see where they are, and then we'll just see where we're shaking out at that point. But I've got to have you here, or the only solution I am allowed under the law is to push into a warrant, which I'm very reluctant to do, given your circumstances. I'm not trying to do that, but I need you available for court. And you've done more in the last couple of days that allows me to go like, oh, okay, we're going to move this where it can get the review that it deserves and we can see where we are.
And I appreciate it. And I'll be there August 8th. And hopefully I don't have to come September 6th.
Yeah. Well, and if we're moving into September 6th, if we have that discussion coming up next, and we may not, y'all may get into an agreement or y'all may not. I do not get involved in that. He may look at what you have to say, and you're welcome to talk to him about it if you want. I will make a note that financially I see, oh, I didn't actually look at this. I'll have to look at it. I don't look at the financial part, except in connection with a bond. But I normally go with just people promising to honor their word. And I try to stay very unjaded about that, right? So like at this point, I feel like we're communicating and I'm a lot less concerned that you're just gonna blow it off. I think your no-shows have maybe been related to other things and not blowing it off, because your demeanor is not that of someone just being aggressive about whatever, you know. You're just earnestly trying to move forward and you've got concerns and they need to be looked at. So the things that you've written to me are in the file because my files are open to you and open to the state. So you can expect that he'll review the things that you've told me at this point when it's on that docket for August 8th. Y'all will do a breakout room, which you would have seen happen today, except nobody showed up and they're all having to come in live now because they didn't show up. So I just assume if people don't show up when there's an agreement to be here, that agreements were made, agreements were broken, and now we're moving into the more the less agreement place. But what I'm wanting to get to in my monologue, in short, I apologize, is on the next setting, if we get to that setting, which is September 6th, if you will remind me, Judge, I'm in Georgia and I'm a disabled vet. Just cue me on those words. I'll probably have it right here in front of me. But if I'm not acknowledging that, remind me, hey, you wanted me to remind you. We'll see what we can do about just scheduling trial. So that
Yes,
you
ma'am.
so that you wouldn't make two trips.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Yes, ma'am.
But for trial, you have to be available. Because you have a constitutional right. And
Exactly.
you can't waive that right. So what that right means is that we are available. It does translate into duties. We don't have rights without duties. You know.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I'm okay with that, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, but I can circumvent it just a little bit to navigate it appropriately in your case.
Okay.
Okay. But there's like a hill that we die on, and that's that constitutional right to trial. So just start with, is there any movement possible from either party? See what he does with it.
Okay.
And we'll go from there.
Okay, well, thank you. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
You're good to go, Mr. Brown. We are going to send you another link. That's what the next step is. It'll have both settings on it. And then, you know, you'll just hit that link on the next one.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
be
sir.
blessed. Thank you.
And you too. We start at 9 and that's 10 over there.
And that was my mistake. I'm sorry. I was here early and then I came back and I didn't know if it was 11, 10, or 9. I'm sorry.
It's gonna, in your time zone, that's gonna be 10. In my
Okay,
time
got it.
zone,
I know
it's
now.
gonna say 9. That's central.
Got it.
And you're
Okay.
over there on Eastern board. So, okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.